The Founders, 0 Point and Dimensions. By Sal Rachele. September 12, 2016. Website: salrachele.com. Produced by Higher Self.
Our previous message was a brief summary of what is taking place on Earth and within the solar system. Today, we would like to discuss how and why the electromagnetic null zone, or galactic shift, is a catalyst for ascension and massive changes, within the Earth herself and within human beings and other life forms. As stated previously, at some point this channel will incorporate artwork, diagrams and tables to help portray the ideas being generated here. We understand most of you rely on a more visual approach, and as we have stated numerous times, your language is very limited and does not have adequate words and phrases to describe many of these ideas. For now, we will attempt to transmit the understandings regarding the density and dimensional changes that will take place during the galactic shift. How to access the various dimensions of the universe. To help you understand the shift you are going through, we are going to discuss how the various densities and dimensions of the universe are constructed. We promise to use easy-to-understand terminology as we venture forth into this arena. We will not detail the individual levels, as that is contained within other books, including our first e-book and the channel's hard copy book, Life on the Cutting Edge. Rather, this discussion will focus on how to go between the different densities and dimensions. As we stated in one of our previous messages, there are doorways between the dimensions of our Creator's universe, called by various Earth names, including stargates, portals, vortexes, mini wormholes, etc. Not all of these terms are accurate. For example, a vortex is merely a concentrated area of electromagnetic energy, usually where two or more ley lines come together, and it is only when electromagnetic energy is configured in a certain way that you have a device or area capable of providing a dimensional shift. You have a term, used by some of your advanced mathematicians and physical scientists, called 0 point. This refers to the exact balance point between the polarities of an electromagnetic field, or rather, the point at which the polarity collapses or becomes essentially non-existent. At the point of zero polarity, a portal, stargate or mini wormhole is formed linking your third dimension to other dimensions, although this is a greatly oversimplified explanation. Another way of stating this is that your third-dimensional universe is constructed of polarized electromagnetic fields that overlap one another in a way that creates continuity within 3D time-space. Of course, you have your gravitational and nuclear forces as well, but these have more to do with the affinity of objects and levels of consciousness existing within your 3D time-space, and less to do with the way your 3D time-space interfaces with other dimensions of our Creator's universe. This channel, in his book on the nature of the universe, Life on the Cutting Edge, differentiated between densities and dimensions, and in keeping with the consistency of his definitions, we will do the same. When we are talking about planes, subplanes and realms of existence within the universe, we will refer to the major characteristics of these planes as dimensions. When we are discussing the vibratory state of specific beings, objects or energy fields existing within a given dimension or dimensions, we will use the term density. For example, you can be a fourth density being, meaning that your dominant level of vibration is that of fourth density, but you can experience the third dimension while in that state. To digress briefly in order to make this point more clear, beings vibrating at various densities can visit or experience dimensions that do not correspond directly to their level of vibration. While third-dimensional beings typically have third-density bodies, you who are reading this are mostly vibrating at fourth density, yet you are still interacting in the third dimension. This distinction between densities and dimensions will come in handy in our future discussions. Resuming our discussion of portals and stargates, you will find that our Creator's universe is designed using several energy configurations, which we will call sacred geometries. Our definition of sacred geometry will be precisely this: the energy configurations of our Creator's universe. You will note that the primary configurations evident, at least to you in 3D space-time, are the circle, spiral, and various derivatives of the triangle. The square, which you see often in your manufactured lifestyle, acts as a base or foundation for triangular forms, such as the base of a pyramid. The square is the most dense and stable of the forms and represents a state of stagnation when souls are at rest in the energy of the square. The circle, on the other hand, represents the point of greatest fluidity, since it is the shape of all structures as they approach a singularity. The singularity is the actual doorway or portal between dimensions. At the exact point of the singularity, you are in the void, or the unmanifested creation. You can think of this as the point within the mind of God that some of your teachers refer to. This entire universe began as a point within the mind of God and then expanded and extended itself, in the manner your scientists refer to as the Big Bang, until all that you see and experience was brought into manifestation. The geometric configurations that exist between the square and the circle, or between the base dimension and the singularity, are both beautiful and complex. If the forms are divergent, meaning they are emanating from a point and growing in size and scope, then a dimensional realm is forming or becoming more evident. If the forms are converging, meaning they are diminishing in size and scope, they are moving toward the singularity and are thus approaching the point of dimensional shift in preparation for ascending or descending along the dimensional continuum. One of the simplest examples of this involves the tetrahedron, or pyramidal structure whereby two pyramids are stacked base to base to form an object similar to a four-sided cut and polished diamond. At the base of each pyramid is the square, the most stable part of the object. When a soul is experiencing the energies of the square, he or she is completely solidified within the dimension that is formed by the tetrahedron. Note: you can also have a triangular pyramid, a pyramid with a triangular base, but such an object is actually less stable than the four-sided pyramid in most cases. At the apex, or capstone, of each of the pyramids forming the tetrahedron, you have the singularity, or portal, or stargate, that allows the soul to move from one dimension to another. In the example of the tetrahedron, you can have one pyramid pointing up, arbitrarily, and one pointing down, again arbitrarily. The up-facing pyramid has a capstone that represents the portal or stargate that is accessed in order to move into a higher dimension. The down-facing pyramid has a capstone that represents the portal or stargate that is accessed in order to move into a lower dimension. If you can visualize tetrahedrons stacked end to end across the universe, you have the most basic concept of how the dimensions of the universe are constructed and how they are accessed. Some of your scientists have correctly postulated that black holes are doorways between the dimensions, and many have envisioned the idea of traveling into the center of galaxies and through the black holes in the hope of entering another universe or realm. We need to differentiate between the black holes at the galactic core of most galaxies, and the many black holes and many wormholes that exist everywhere throughout 3D time-space. The massive black holes that exist at the center of various heavenly bodies, such as galaxies, quasar clusters and interstellar gases, are links between this local universe and other universes, or what have been called parallel universes. The many black holes and many wormholes that exist in great numbers within so-called ordinary time and space are the portals and stargates that allow you to travel between the dimensions of this local universe. While there are similarities between the many black holes and the massive black holes, the levels they access are very different. In addition to the triangular-based geometric energy configurations, you have various derivatives, including octahedrons, isocohedrons, dodecahedrons, duodecahedrons, etc. We will not take time right now to elaborate on these forms as you can find examples of them on your internet. The spiral is a very unique form in the design of the cosmos. you will find that the concept of time, as well as the idea of evolution, and the construction of all life forms, are based on the spiral. Although it is not entirely accurate, you can think of the triangles, pyramids, tetrahedrons, icosahedrons, dodecahedrons, squares, circles and singularities, as part of the inanimate universe, or the basic building blocks of the universe, while you can think of the spiral and its associated fractals and patterns as the animate building blocks of life itself existing within the inanimate framework of the universe. Another way of thinking of this is to introduce the concept of momentum, or angular velocity. All animate forms within the universe have, to some degree, a momentum, or movement of consciousness and form, within the relatively static structure of the base universe. Spirals are formed when inanimate objects are rotated or moved through an electromagnetic field. Although gravitational and nuclear forces are technically in the form of spirals, when examined in great depth and with proper instrumentation, the most obvious energy field acting upon inanimate objects is the electromagnetic field. Since the Godhead consists of both eternal changeless consciousness and ever-moving consciousness, the movement of consciousness, as it traverses the static, changeless, base form of consciousness, creates spiral, or fractal patterns of energy within the stratum, changeless aspect of God. Your scientists call the base, or stratum, the Bose-Einstein condensate. As temperatures approach what you call absolute zero, you discover this static state of the universe. At absolute zero, all motion ceases and you have the pure, changeless consciousness of the primordial God essence. You will find that this changeless state also appears at the exact point of the singularities, existing in infinite number throughout the Creator's universe. Concurrently, you will find that the 0 point of absolute neutrality between the polarities of an electromagnetic field are also the points of static changeless consciousness within the mind of God. We have so far discussed at least 3 ways of accessing the eternal, changeless aspect of the Creator. 1. Through the removal of all thermodynamic elements from a region of space, thereby creating absolute zero temperature, meaning no movement of particles or consciousness, a state called the Bose-Einstein condensate by some physicists. 2. Through moving along the converging sides of a pyramidal-type structure into the singularity at the apex or capstone of the structure, which essentially means entering the many black holes and many wormholes that exist throughout 3D time-space, and 3. By entering into the point of exact neutrality between the polarities of an electromagnetic field, the region called 0 point by some of your scientists. It is important for us to remind you, dear creators, that no matter how you access this eternal, unchanging aspect of God, you are essentially at the same point beyond all time and space when you enter into this state of being. Whether or not you enter a mini black hole in a galaxy billions of light years from the Milky Way, or you enter in through the 0 point of an electromagnetic field in your own earthly laboratory, or you construct a pyramid in your living room and learn how to activate the capstone in such a way that you pass through the singularity and into the next dimension, at the point of singularity you are in the same exact point as you are in that distant galaxy. Every point within the mind of God is the same point, because the concept of time and space does not exist in the changeless eternal state. Your rational mind will have a hard time grasping this concept, but you can visualize it to some extent. When you apply this idea to consciousness instead of a static geometrical state of 3D time-space, it makes perfect sense. All systems of meditation, all paths to enlightenment, involve the same idea. By quieting the mind you enter into the still, timeless realms of pure spirit. When there is no movement of consciousness, you position yourself automatically within the singularity and therefore, within the point of eternal, unchanging God consciousness. How the electromagnetic null zone will affect consciousness. By now, if you have been grasping the ideas put forth in this dissertation, You have probably already reached the logical conclusion to which we are pointing. When an electromagnetic field decreases in polarity, it moves those who are involved in this electromagnetic field toward the 0 point, or point of no polarity. As souls move into the electromagnetic null zone created by the emanations of the central sun of the galaxy, they pass through this photon belt of scalar, non-polarized, electromagnetic energy. Therefore, they experience moving through a stargate, or portal, into another dimensional continuum. Since the divine dispensation of the galactic shift being implemented on Earth, and other relevant planets in this region of space, is designed to graduate souls into the next stage of evolution, you will find that the stargates and portals opened up by the electromagnetic null zone are upward spiraling or upward converging, meaning that they lead to the next octave of God's creation, which in this case is the higher mental and astral plane of the fourth dimension, for Earth and most of her surviving souls, and the etheric plane of the fifth dimension, for those souls ascending into crystal light bodies. The consciousness of the shift. Many of you that are now vibrating at fourth density passed through the portal from third density as a result of the practice of meditation. When you quiet your mind sufficiently, the movement of consciousness stops and you enter the portal. You might have a partial entering at first, but as you apply yourself more consistently, you find your entire being shifting into fourth density. The actual passage through the portal involves a quantum jump, but in this world, it appears to happen gradually. In other words, some of your cells appear to mutate into the fourth density vibration before others, although this is really an illusion. There is a critical mass that occurs on the cellular level. When enough cells are aligned, or attuned, to fourth density, the quantum jump occurs and your entire body begins vibrating at fourth density. This experience in consciousness is usually in the form of an aha or satori that starts you solidly on the spiritual path. For a few brief moments, you have contact with the higher planes and an instantaneous understanding of the oneness of all life. From that moment on, you become conscious creators living in a fourth density vibration, even though some parts of you still appear to vibrate at third density. Remember, dear creators, the words being used here are approximations. Please do not get hung up on the idea that you must vibrate at this or that level. These delineations are given so that the intellectual mind has something to grasp onto during the shift. The reality beyond the words is what is important. Those of you that have been vibrating at fourth density for some time now are consciously preparing to ascend into fifth density. In order to do this consciously, you must collapse the dualities within your own mind. This means seeing only contrasts rather than judgments when you look at the qualities commonly called light and dark, good and evil, or positive and negative. A fifth density consciousness is one that sees the divine in everything without judgment. The fastest way to prepare your consciousness for fifth density is to let go of all judgment, all comparison, and all attachment to duality, also called Maya or illusion. The split within humanity. As you know by now, not all souls on Earth will pass through the portal into the fifth dimension. In fact, the vast majority of humanity will either disincarnate as Earth approaches the portal, or will move into the fourth density state. They will not be vibrating at a high enough rate to move completely into fifth density. The Earth herself will move through the portal in such a way as to become a fourth density planet existing in the fourth dimensional state of the universe. To adequately explain the interaction of third, fourth and fifth dimensions upon one another, and to adequately describe the third, fourth and fifth density vibrations of souls involved in the galactic shift, would require detailed complex diagrams and rigorous mathematics. To the relief of most readers, we will not be translating this treatise into such a methodology at this time. This channel and his primary guide, Leah, have already discussed the metaphysical and spiritual implications of the galactic shift in the numerous channeled messages he has given, both in lecture format and on his website, as well as in the Leah ebook. In the spirit of refraining from reinventing the wheel, we will only touch upon these matters such as they relate to the science that we are describing. While some of you do not need a scientific explanation of the galactic shift, it is helpful for many of you and provides some detailed how-to regarding your abilities to move smoothly through the transition from third density to fourth and fifth. Another view of the shift. For those of you who are clairvoyant, or at the very least highly visual, let us sum up our discussion so far using overly simplified depictions. You have a spiral galaxy, your Milky Way, spinning like a pinwheel, and the solar system, your sun, outer giant gaseous planets, and all the rest, including rogue planetoids and asteroids, all rotating, revolving and spinning along with the rest of the stars and planets in this outer spiral arm of the galaxy. As these heavenly bodies spin along with the rest of the spiral arm, they encounter a beam of high-intensity scalar electromagnetic radiation emanating from the central sun of the galaxy. It is as if someone shone a spotlight out from the center into space and your solar system moves through the beam of the spotlight, however briefly, only about 150 years in Earth time and only about 20 years in the most intense part of the beam. As Earth passes through the beam, all life forms upon her, as well as the planet herself, are transformed, translated and transmuted into the next dimension. Those that are unable to withstand the frequency change will leave their bodies and incarnate elsewhere in the galaxy, preferably in a sector that is not about to go through a similar change. Those that are able to withstand the frequency change, but are not able to go completely through the Stargate into the fifth dimension, will find themselves in the fourth dimension, which is the dimension of thought and time. To a fourth density being living in a fourth-dimensional time-space continuum, life seems quite similar to third density, except that such souls are aware that they are conscious creators and that consciousness creates their experience of reality. They learn to create from the center of their being outward, and the world they see is an enlightened paradise that reflects their higher state of consciousness. This is the golden age spoken of by many of your prophets. Those that are able to move completely into the fifth dimension will experience the fifth-dimensional version of Earth. Like yourselves, Earth is a multi-dimensional being of light manifesting as a planet rather than a humanoid or star. Her dominant frequency will move from third to fourth density, and so those of you who go through ascension will essentially be fifth-density beings living on a fourth-density world, or shall we say fifth-density beings living in the fourth dimension. Again, we apologize for the limited scope of your language, as this is not the most ideal way to describe this. As fifth-density beings living in the fourth dimension of time-space, you will have certain advantages over the fourth-density beings living in the fourth dimension. While they will still grow old and die, reincarnating over and over as fourth-density beings until they ascend off the wheel of reincarnation, you will be in your immortal crystalline light bodies. For a while, you will still be visible to fourth-density humans, but eventually you will increase your frequency sufficiently to become invisible even to fourth density. Only the clairvoyant and telepathic members of the Golden Age will be able to interact with you at that point. As fifth-density teachers and way-showers, you will guide and instruct the leaders of the fourth-density world in the ways of spirit, love and compassion. You will also interface with the enlightened ETs that will come and go openly from the Earth plane. Many of the ETs currently assisting Earth are already vibrating at fourth and fifth density, and it will become very easy for them to interact with humans on Earth after the shift. In one of our following messages, we will go into greater depth on the role and function of the ETs, angels and ascended masters, and how they will assist as Earth goes through the galactic shift. In our next message, we will detail some of the specific changes you will see on your planet, as well as the ongoing changes to your Sun and the outer gaseous planets of your solar system. We are grateful for this time with you, and we are glad that so many of you are able to follow the train of thought we have prepared. We are the founders, ever in the light of God.